So this morning I'm filling in for Rupa. Found out last night while we were watching the whales in Cabarita there with a few of the people from the village having a kirtan. I jotted down a few notes, so we'll just see if I can say something of value to the assembled Vaishnavas here. Ask for their permission and their blessing, of course. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So yesterday I think we had some success in chanting this with the Brahma Samhita meter, so we'll try that again today. Shri Rupini Kanayati Charanaravindam Lilam Bhujena Harisatmani Mukti Dosha Mukta Dosha Shamlakshate Spahitika Uppetta hemni. Samajati vayadanugrahane nyatna. Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanaravindam Lilam Bhujan Harisatmani Mukti Dosha Samlakshate Spatika Kutya Upetta Hemne Samajati Vayadanugrahane Nyayatna. Samlakshate Spatika Kutya Vatsahimni Amajita Yaranugrahane Nyaratna. Shri Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, Rupini, assuming a beautiful form, Pranayati, tinkling, Charana Aravindam, lotus feet, Lila Ambujena, playing with a lotus flower, Hari Sadmani, the house of the Supreme Personality, Mukta Dosa, freed from all faults, Samlakshate, becomes visible, Spatika, crystal, Kudye, walls, Upeta, mixed, Hemni, gold, Samajati. Eva. Appearing like a sweeper. Yatanugrahane. To receive her favour. Anya. Others. Yatna. Very much careful. Translation. The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their leg bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders, in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Supreme Lord, Govinda, is always served in his abode by many millions of goddesses of fortune. Lakshmi Sahasra Satta Samrama Sevyamanam. These millions and trillions of goddesses of fortune who reside in the Vaikuntha planets are not exactly consorts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but are the wives of the devotees of the Lord and are also engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated here that in Vaikuntha planets the houses are made of marble. Similarly, in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated the ground on the Vaikuntha planet is made of touchstone. Thus, there is no need to sweep the stone in Vaikuntha, for there is hardly any dust on it. But still, in order to satisfy the Lord, the ladies always engage in dusting the marble walls. Why? The reason is that they eager to achieve the grace of the Lord by doing so. It is also stated here that in the Vaikuntha planets, the goddesses of fortune are faultless. Generally, the goddess of fortune does not remain steadily in one place. Her name is Chanchala, which means one who's not steady. We find, therefore, that a man who is very rich may become the poorest of the poor. Another example is Ravana. Ravana took away Lakshmi, Sitaji, to his kingdom, and instead of being happy by the grace of Lakshmi, his family and his kingdom were vanquished. Thus, Lakshmi in the house of Ravana is Chanchala, or unsteady. Men of Ravana's class want Lakshmi only without a husband, Narayan. Therefore, they become unsteady due to Lakshmiji. Materialistic persons find fault on the part of Lakshmi, but in Vaikuntha, Lakshmi is fixed in the service of the Lord. In spite of being the goddess of fortune, she cannot be happy without the grace of the Lord. Even the goddess of fortune needs the Lord's grace in order to be happy. Yet in the material world, even Brahma, the highest created being, seeks the favour of Lakshmi for happiness. Om Agina Tamarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksuran Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Durgame Pari Mendasya Skalapati Katirmu Svakripa Yustadalina Shanta Shantu Avalambanam. So this is a very, very prolific sloka. I'm very happy to have received this sloka as a present from Rupa to speak on it, because this has been an enigma for me for many, many years, which I sort of wrestled with, trying to philosophically understand why in Vaikuntha, when the queens and the wives of the devotees of the Lord, who are just like queens, are sweeping the marble floors when there is no dust. So you think, why perform such an activity when you're in the spiritual world? Surely there is so much variegatedness there, you could do something else. Right? So I've been thinking about that. Don't know about anybody else, but even Srila Prabhupada sort of puts the question here, why? So the queens it also says somewhere else that the queens are sweeping the walls. Queens of Vaikuntha are also sweeping the walls there. So why are they doing it? Srila Prabhupada says they're doing it out of love. So we see here that it's a tradition. We take it to Rath Yatra. When we're reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear of King Pratiparudra, famous king of Orissa, and he had a golden broom and he used to sweep the road before the Jagannath cart during the festival. And in that tradition that's been carried on for hundreds of years, maybe it was thousands of years, I don't know, but still we have prominent citizens in India. If you have the Rath Yatra cart, then there's almost like a bit of a tussle for that broom so you can sweep the cart before the most prominent dignitary usually likes to accept that activity. So once again you say, why does he want to do it and not somebody else? He's got so many helpers, so many servants, so many sweepers he could get. No, he wants to do it. So it's just to show their love for Krishna. Just like us, in Bhagavad Gita it says, Patram Puspam Palam Toyam Yomi Bhakti Prayachati. I'd like to finish a sloka because I only know two lines, but I'll look it up so I can read the other two lines, have the complete one. Which is it? Well said. So if one offers me with love and devotion a fruit, flower, leaf or water, I will accept it. So here we are offering the arti lamp to the Lord and we're offering water. So we know Krishna is the source of all water. He's the source of the oceans, the big glaciers, the rivers. So he has all the water, and here we are offering a little bit of water to Krishna. And with the fruit, so Aham Prajaprita, I'm the seed-giving Father, so all the fruit, the vegetables, Krishna is the source of all that. But in all circumstances, he has it all. But we're offering some fruits and flowers to Krishna, and that is bhakti. So one thing that Krishna doesn't have, he doesn't have our bhakti, our love. He doesn't have that. That's our relationship with Krishna. This is our independence. We can choose to give it to Krishna or not. Of course, Krishna is our loving Father, and he wants to reciprocate with us if we want to reciprocate with him. So it is up to us. It's our independence. We can give our love to Krishna or we can hold back. Srila Prabhupada, actually, I remember one nice story about Srila Prabhupada and this famous tennis player. You may have heard it. I might have said it once before. You might have heard Peter Burwash. You know that story about Peter Burwash? I think it was a lovely story. That Peter Burwash, he was one of these famous professional tennis players. He had a coaching school and he was well off. And he was in Hawaii and he was very much attracted to Srila Prabhupada. So whenever Srila Prabhupada came to Hawaii, he would make sure that he would be there and he would give Prabhupada a substantial donation. So every time he'd go and see Srila Prabhupada, he'd give him a wad of money. They didn't have checks, so he wouldn't give him a check, give him a wad of money, you know. And Srila Prabhupada would just say, Hacha, thank you very much, like that. Just, you know, just a mild recognition of the donation. So this went on, and Peter Burwash was saying, I'm giving so much, but Srila Prabhupada hardly recognizes the fact that I'm giving this. So one time, he found out that Srila Prabhupada was there and he was late. He didn't know. So he went rushing to see Srila Prabhupada. He was just making it, getting into the car to go to the airport. So he comes up to Srila Prabhupada and all of a sudden he realizes, I haven't got anything to give Prabhupada. So he dives into his pocket and he had a few coins and a few notes, right? So Prabhupada was in the backseat of the car, so he gives him this couple of coins and a couple of notes through the window. And Prabhupada gave him this beautiful smile, like, oh, thank you so much. It was just heart-melting smile. And this is what he was wanting. And this is the example. He said that actually, well, I don't know who said, but the example of this is that actually Krishna, we can give so much to Krishna. If we have a lot, we can give something, but also Krishna sees what we're holding back. But when we give everything to Krishna, then he's very much pleased with the speaker, the spiritual master. So the materialist, he wants everything for himself, right? There's no room for anything spiritual. And we have found that in our hearty days in Sankirtan devotees that, we ask people to stop them on the street, give them a book or talk a little bit about Krishna or something. No time, sorry, I'm in a rush. Or you go to the office of some wealthy man and he won't give you the time of day because he's too busy and he's devoid of devotion, material wealth, greed and prosperity. His objectives, chapter 16, describe that mentality. It's chapter 16 in the Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled the two Ds, divine and demoniac. It explains the sort of demeanor of that person, that so much wealth I have today and I will get some more in the future. I will accumulate wealth. I will become rich. Anyone who opposes me, I will have them destroyed, annihilated. In this way, I will be happy. And my friends will be happy, and my family will be happy. And I will give in charity. That's very important that you give in charity, so you get your name on the plaque on some university or some hospital. And this way I will be successful. So that is the demonic mentality, or Srila Prabhupada describes it very nicely. Nobody else does it. Materialistic demeanor. Have you ever, anybody else, heard that from, any other source? It's just Srila Prabhupada, the materialistic demeanor of the demonic mentality. So at the time of death, that spiritual bank balance is empty. Mangaladi this morning, it was read out in the Theology of the Holy Name, the Srinamrita. If anybody who was here, do you remember that actually it said that spiritual life is never lost, it just accumulates, whereas material life, there is no gain. So once you leave your body, you have to start again. So at the time of death, the spiritual bank balance, if it is empty, then the person is judged on the karma that he's amassed, and that's the body he is awarded in his next life. Then there is no independence there, that you're just strictly bound by the laws of karma and by the laws of material nature. But the devotee actually wants to surrender everything to Krishna. So when the devotee's heart is empty, devoid, completely empty of material desires, then he's full of spiritual wealth. It says in the Bhagavatam, Akama sarva kamova moksha karma udariti tivrena bhakti yogana jajate purusham param. That a person who has broader intelligence, whether he's full of desires or he has no desires at all, which is called niskama, right? Or he's wanting liberation, moksha. So he should by all means worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to achieve these things, objects of his desires. So the devotees say their hearts are imbued with devotion for the Lord, and then they can discern what is favourable in activities for Krishna consciousness, what is unfavourable. So that is the essence of the key, the essence of the making advancement on the path of Bhakti Yoga. And then for that devotee who is always discerning what is spiritual, what is material, and staying on the path of Krishna consciousness, becoming more and more attracted. The attraction happens naturally through steady devotional service and through the chanting of Krishna's names. This attraction for Krishna immediately develops. And then at the end of one's life, one utters the holy name of Krishna. The holy name of Krishna is on his lips, or it is being reverberated by loving devotees surrounding that person. The Vishnu Dutas, they come. They're the servants of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha. They're the inhabitants. And they take you straight back to the spiritual world. And so that is the goal in this life, that you've actually re-established your relationship with Krishna. So Prabhupada's also talking about Vaikuntha here, about those beautiful ladies that are there, they are almost as attractive as the goddess of fortune herself. And they have the husbands have their wives, their consorts, and there is a relationship between husband and wife, and they enjoy each other's company. But although those wives are so beautiful in Vaikuntha, there's no sexual attraction there between husband and wife. Why? Because there's a higher taste, there's that spiritual taste. So sexual attraction, this is something pertaining to the material world, which is a means to help procreate all the living entities in the universe. We were watching the whales last night, right? They were in Cabarita, they were in full action. And someone was telling me, I just thought I'll throw this in. I thought, I heard it last night, and I thought, I'm going to throw this somewhere into the Bhagavatam class, and it just came up. It's not in my notes, but she's saying that the whales are going up and down. It's because the male whales are trying to attract the female. That's why they're sort of going up and going down, showing their energetic abilities. And she said there's actually 9 males to every female, and then they fight for the right to actually be able to spawn the female and procreate with the female. So this is going on. So we're seeing the whale jumping up in the water. Oh, how beautiful the whale's jumping up in the water. But what's going on underneath the water? Maybe mass chaos. There's a big fight going on. So this is all on the way up north. So this is this is all living entities. They're attracted by this urge for procreation. And there is also a demigod called Kandapa who is there to facilitate this, or sometimes his common name is Cupid. Yes, and he's got the bow and arrow, and he's got these flower arrows. So remember that epic story where he shot a flower arrow, one of his best flower arrows, at Lord Shiva, and it backfired badly, and Lord Shiva burned him to ashes. So anyway, Kandapa usually hits his mark with these arrows. So also people with material desires, they simply just become enamoured by this sexual attraction, and it becomes be-all, end-all. The ultimate fulfillment of happiness. We see this everywhere. We don't have to sort of go too far. I don't have to give any examples. We've all experienced this all the time. But we see that this happiness is actually short-lived. We see the beautiful people, very, very attractive women, attractive man, they all come together, and you think, well, this is the ultimate attraction, you know, that they've ultimate relationship, that they've come together, they're like-minded, and so on and so forth. But actually the mind is so fickle that it's very hard to find a common ground, and it's hard for these people not to be lured by some other temptation, because that Cupid is always there. He is relentless, and that's the material energy. So that's because the material energy in this world, we have love in the spiritual world, but when it comes to the material world, it's sour, it's become very sour, and it becomes lust. So lusty desires are very, very hard to control. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example that trying to satisfy lusty desires is like, who can tell me? Yeah, like pouring petrol onto a fire. Huh? Scratching an itch. No, I just had a sort of, I had a flash there when we had a fire at the back of the kitchen one day, somebody lit up the wok because the flame was too high, and the ghee spilled over, and up she went. And another devotee come around, saw the big fire, and he saw a table, and he threw the table on the fire, tried to put it out, but it was particle board. And it really went up, and then I was doing the offering, and all of a sudden the fire brigade's there with 3 trucks and guys in yellow suits and everything. Said, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" I said, "I'm doing the offering. There's a fire going on." Anyway, it wasn't too severe, but that's the petrol on the fire scenario. Fuel on the fire, as you say. So in Vaikuntha, it is my understanding, from what I've read, that souls, they're eternally liberated, so they don't grow old. They stay fixed in their youthful disposition. There is no farther time wearing down the bodies. So this is also exemplified in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world, where we worship Krishna and Radha and the gopis. In the Nectar of Devotion, it gives us the ages, the exact age of every gopi. And that was another, how do they know, right? I've just got the 8 Varista gopis on my notes here, and each gopi has actually got a certain age. So Radharani is like 14 years and 2 months, right? It says that's Radharani's age. Krishna, of course, is 15 years and 7 months, so he's 1 year, 5 months older. And the other gopis, except for Lalita, Vishaka Gopi, Lalita, she's older. She's 14 years, 8 months. She's 6 months older. And all the other gopis are more or less around the same age, 14 years, says 2 months, 7.5 days. One says 2 months and 15 days. So they're all about the same age as Radharani. So why do they put that? Because that's their age in the spiritual world. And then underneath that they have the Manjaris, and the Manjaris are a lot younger. As I assume that they haven't reached full maturity, and so they're serving Radha and Krishna in all the different capacities, making flower garlands and whatever else is there that the gopis want. So this is the spiritual world. And then, of course, not only that, but we have they have this eternal youthfulness, but within the spiritual world we also know that there's Mother Yasoda and the elderly gopas and the gopas, so they have their age, so they're always they stay at that age because of their relationship, their lila with Krishna. And we have the cowherd boys, and it also gives their ages. So this is the nature of the spiritual world, is eternal. So it's almost beyond our conception, because we're so conditioned by time that everything grows old and decays here, but that is not there in the spiritual world. So some of the gurus in Vrindavan, they have had the practice, and they probably still do, of giving the gopi names of different souls that come, different devotees that come and see them. So they say, this is your relationship in the spiritual world, that you're this gopi or that gopi. But how do they know all this? This is just actually speculation, because we don't know. We're just down here in the material world, conditioned by this material energy, and we can't penetrate into the spiritual world and know what our real bhava is. So a lot of this is just there for speculation, fame, adoration, and distinction. So Srila Bhaktivinoda prays the real right attitude of the devotee is simply to wish that you were born in next life, that you're born in a house of a devotee. He says it doesn't even matter if he's an ant in the house of devotee, at least he's made it successfully in devotee's house. I mean, that humility is just overwhelming for me. I mean, I have difficulty with that, but I pray that actually we're born in the association of devotees. What else is there? So that's the essence of bhakti, that Bharat Maharaj in the Bhagavatam, he was born as a deer, right? And what did he do? He stayed in the house of the stayed near the house of the great sages. Was it Bharat Maharaj? He was a deer in his next life. Narad Muni, he was born as his mother died. He was born as a Sudra, he was a demigod. He created some offence. He was born as a Sudra very early in the history of the universe, which is endless, of course, but earlier on. And then he stayed around the house of sages, served them, ate their prasadam, and this way he became liberated also. So the association of devotees is very, very important. Purification takes place. So furthermore, even further than that, the association of devotees, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that one who preaches the glories, his glories becomes dear to him, and he's very dear to the devotee, and the devotee is dear to him. So the preaching, the preaching is the essence here for us. This is the order of the spiritual master, that we preach the glories of Krishna, and this way we become purified ourselves. I was just reading Hari Suri's book. It was very, the book is that actually, the book contains that period of time when Prabhupada actually came to Melbourne when I was there in 1976. It was just interesting to see what unfolded, because we had no idea. I was Bhakta Bruce or something like that. I don't know if you were there for it, maybe not that point in time. So all this Guru Kripa was the GBC, and all this, you know, Prabhupada was dealing with so many people, but we had no idea. We were just going out and Sankirtan every day, and I got to go on a morning walk with Prabhupada once or maybe twice, and Prabhupada give the lecture, and that's all we saw of Prabhupada. But Prabhupada was there for one whole week, so it was very, very, it unwrapped what some of Prabhupada's pastimes was. So it was really interesting. But further down the line, when Prabhupada went to Los Angeles a little bit later, he was alarmed at what was going on in Los Angeles, that this sahaja mentality had developed, that some of the devotees were going around thinking, well, if we're gopis in Vrindavan, how do we act as gopis here in this, in this world here? And they were putting themselves in positions of gopis, how they could serve Krishna. And so there was a whole club, it was called the Gopi Bhava Club, that had happened. And Sankirtan was starting to suffer, whereas this devotee, they're having a meeting, they're having a Gopi Bhava Club meeting. And Prabhupada was so alarmed, he just really wanted to get to the source of this. Where is this coming from? Who is doing this? And he said, this is a really big threat to our Krishna consciousness, that people have got this mentality that they're already gopis. So he traced it back that there were some Babajis in Radhakund that were instructing some devotees there about Gopi Bhava, and they were spreading it to everybody else. So he got all these people and called them in, and he said that this is actually very alarming, that what you're doing is you're equating yourself with these great, you're equating yourself on the Gopi Bhava platform, where you're just simply just dust under dust under dust, just the dust at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. And so the process is to actually serve Krishna, and to, if you want to make really advancement, is preach Krishna's glories. And this is what Prabhupada gave us. He gave us preaching is the essence. And I just wanted to say that we can do this. In the old days, we used to go every day out in the street and try to address people, tell them about Krishna consciousness, try to get them to come to the temple. But we have so many people here at the temple right now as we speak, and they are interested in Krishna consciousness. They've come here for some reason or other, but they're also, if you ask them, there's some contact with Krishna. They've had some contact with Krishna. Somebody's told them something about Krishna, or they've performed some activity that actually it's time for them to come. It's a really opportune time that they're here for a reason. Nothing happens by chance. We say that there's the Guru Kripa, there's the mercy of the spiritual master, but normally that's by slow process of some Gyata Sakriti they've accumulated, that they've come here and it's a very wonderful opportunity to help them go further on their spiritual path. There is no loss on that. So it is an easy thing to do, just to talk to people, say hello. And this preaching, this is what Krishna is very, very fond of. So that is our day-to-day, what we do. It's all geared about preaching and understanding what is favourable for our Krishna consciousness and what isn't favourable, and acting in that way. I have a few minutes left. There is the second part of Srila Prabhupada's purport. I don't know if you remember, but it says that Lakshmi, she's very much attracted to Krishna. So to the hard-nosed materialist who seeks her so desperately, he may grab hold of her, just like Ravana did, but she slips out of his grasp because she's just looking for Krishna. So that's the goddess of fortune. So I cannot say that much about it, because I don't know, our relationship with the goddess of fortune here on this farm doesn't seem to be that tentative for all the devotees I know here. She doesn't really smile upon us in a great sort of way that we don't really become well endowed. We're always praying for something just to keep us here in Krishna consciousness. I'm praying for new chairs in the Prasanam Hall or something, but it just seems like it's just ever elusive that the goddess of fortune does not smile upon me so much, or as far as our personal situation goes. I don't know. We're sort of, devotees are pretty happy in any situation, but I suppose I would say would like be nice, a little bit better would be nice. So if we're so faithful to Krishna, then Goddess Fortune, Lakshmi Devi might be happy with us, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So the only thing I can think of is like a mother and a child. So you have the mother, she's protecting the child from so many different things and guiding the child on their path to knowledge or whatever. So perhaps, so in that way, the Goddess of Fortune is looking at us in that type of relationship as a mother and child, and protecting us and helping us on our path of devotional service. So spiritual activities, of course, are never destroyed. So a lack of material opulence does not actually have any significance at all in this context. So that's just a little realization I've had. If anybody else has got something to add to that, I'd be very much pleased for that. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Manibanda Prabhu, do we have a microphone?
Thanks for your class. So in regards to Lakshmi, I mean, obviously she's the wife of the Supreme Personality, so she's acting only according to his order. But there's a story in Chaitanya Charitamrita that, I mean, that the conclusion of the story was that Lord Chaitanya told Srivas Thakur that even if Lakshmi becomes a beggar, that I will never neglect my devotees. So that was the basic conclusion. Because Lord Chaitanya noticed Srivas Thakur, he wasn't doing anything to maintain his griha. And he said, you know, you've got a big family and servants and domestic, you know, cows, but you're not doing anything. And so Srivas Thakur, he just clapped 3 times. And Lord Chaitanya said, so what's, you know, counting to 3, clapping 3 times? Srivas Thakur said, if I have to fast for more than 3 meals, I'm going to drown myself in the Ganga. So Lord Chaitanya, he roared and said, even if Lakshmi becomes a beggar, I will never neglect my devotees. So maybe we're not getting what we'd like, but we're getting everything that we need.
Very reassuring. Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
I was thinking how you were talking that in the spiritual world, time is absent by its effects, but it's still there in the sense of relationships, isn't it? Like for the rasa, like it's described, Nanda Maharaj's beard is flecked with grey, and as you said, Mother Jasoda is older than some of the other cowherd women. And so that effect, that sort of time is there in the sense of just to, you know.
Yeah, so I just keep thinking of that instance where in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Gopi Kumara comes to the spiritual world and everybody's transfixed, they're all just standing still looking in one direction, and he's trying to ask everybody, where is Krishna? And they won't answer him, they're just sort of mesmerised looking in the direction of whatever direction it is. And then after a period of time, there's a bit of a dust bowl, they hear a conch shell, and then they all become animated because Krishna's coming back with all the cowherd boys and the cows. So all of a sudden everybody comes to life again. So there is that sort of period where it's a rasa, you know, time is actually, so that is the Leela that, time is a Leela, but it's not there with its sort of effect, because in the material world it is one of the elements. So as soon as everything starts in the material world, as soon as Vishnu impregnates all the living entities, then the clock goes off, tick-tock, tick-tock, right? And so that's the clock for the material universe. The material universe is limited, Lord Brahma's life is limited, and all the living entities that come through are limited in their own different capacities according to the modes of material nature. So it's a different function. Time is a different function there compared to the spiritual world. So, yeah.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for the class. I have a question about the rasas at Vaikuntha planet, if there is any. What rasa do the residents of Vaikuntha planet have with Krishna?
The residents of Vaikuntha planet are always remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Narayan. And the form of Narayan has different shapes there. He's got his 4 arms and different sort of abilities there. And so there are different planets there. It's described that you can have the shape, you can have the body of Lord Narayan, right? And I think that from what I hear from what I read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that you can take the shape of his different incarnations too. There's sort of different shapes that you can have. And then there's the opulence, that you have that beautiful opulence there, that all those palaces of marble, and that's another situation. And in all those situations, you have a certain relationship, but it's always that one of awe and reverence, just like in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami describes Gopi Kumara. He saw the Lord, Supreme Personality of God, the Lord of his heart, went rushing towards him to give him a big hug, right, as a friend, because he's a cowherd boy, right? And they're all holding back. You can't hug the Lord. What are you doing? You know, why are you dressed like this? You should have this opulence of Vaikuntha. What are you doing here? Right? And then I think someone pulled him aside and said, actually, you don't belong here. You should go somewhere else. So that was the sort of next higher up rasa. So it just stops at that awe and reverence, that Aishwarya, like that. But may I say that the Vaikuntha planets, they're sort of 3/4. Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, is 3/4 of the Lord's energy, and we're just 1/4. So the unlimited nature of Vaikuntha planets is always there, that their travel is always there from one planet to another, and it's inexhaustible. And even if you come back to some planet, because it is ever increasing, the love and the bhakti is always ever increasing, so things are always changing. So you never get sick of anything. Just like in the material world, you sort of think, well, I've retired now, I'll go on the holidays, I'll go on a cruise to this place, that place, this place. Eventually you run out of places. There are only so many places. What to speak in the universe also. So, but in the spiritual world, it is eternal. That is just the eternal pastime. Once you go there, you don't want to come back. So, but for the awe and the reverence, that is the Vaikuntha, the devotee, as I said, he shuns the 5 types of liberation. That is, you know, the Vaikuntha planets are 4 of those 5 types. So because the devotees that developed that attraction for the lotus feet of Krishna, is only, the devotees' only desire is to go back to Vrindavan goal. But what Lord Brahma is saying is like Manibandha Prabhu was saying, that because Lord Brahma's meditation, he realised the Lord showed him the Vaikuntha planets, and he's describing this to the demigods, because normally the Vedas just give you this as the ultimate goal. Vaikuntha is the ultimate goal, all the Vedas. It's very rare that you get a devotee, a bhakta of the Lord that actually understands the true nature of Krishna and the higher rasa. And somehow or other in this age of Kali Yuga, we've been given this. This is quite incredible, actually. So we're very fortunate souls indeed, due to the glories of our spiritual master, founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much.
One more over here, Manibandha. Better be the last one, I think, but the bell's going to go soon.
Just to add to that, predominantly it's servitorship is the relationship, the friendship, parental and lover. That relationship is only in Goloka Vrindavan, not Vaikuntha.
That's correct, yeah.
That's Madura.
Okay, so we'll talk about it. Thank you very much, Joe.